I had mentioned earlier that I spent so much time just like trying to figure out what the divide was in the music that I wrote and why it felt so different. And now it feels so not. It feels so it flows nicely, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that I've reached that point. But I feel like for me, it really was like looking deep within myself and kind of figuring out like, okay, what things are threads here? And I think I really love collaboration. It's like one of my favorite things ever. I love writing songs with other people, and that's truly like my favorite form of art making. I feel like is the collaborative space with another songwriter. But when it comes to my concert work and the other stuff that I do, I would say recently I feel like I've found more of a thread between those things. And so the music that I like writing, like the concert music that I like enjoy writing, I write a lot of fixed media, and I usually integrate my vocal writing or my actual voice and my guitar tracks and different things into the fixed media. And so I usually like integrate a performance element into the fixed media that I record. And it's so much fun because I can just make like a wall of sound thing. That's like my favorite thing to do right now is just make a really large multi-tracked wall of sound that's kind of meditative and flowy and whatnot. And I would say the last, I don't know, several pieces I've written have kind of incorporated that. And when it comes to the actual writing process, and I just realized this recently, like they're both kind of exactly the same for me. When I wrote my album that I released back in October, I was just kind of reflecting and thinking back, like, what happened? How did I do this? And a lot of times I just open up my phone, I get a voice memo, and I improvise. And that whole improvisation is just the song. Like, typically, I don't, which is very, I feel like, contradictory to what I've been taught and a lot of what my friends do, but I feel like I don't make a lot of changes after that first improvisation that
Yeah.
I actually like connect with. Of course, I will sit and do 20, 30 of them on my phone until I feel like I found the right thing. Or I'll sit there for, 2 hours until I feel like I've really gotten in the flow of it. But typically I sit down and I improvise either on piano, which I'm not a good pianist, and it makes me excited because I actually feel like I can find things that I like enjoy or wouldn't have found if I was a good pianist. So that's it's fun to approach an instrument with like a sort of like childlike curiosity almost, like kind of going back to that experience of like being 9 and playing the piano and not knowing what I was doing kind of thing. I do the same thing with guitar as well. I play guitar and I play piano. I know I do, but that's not like my actual professional instrument. So it feels like a fun way to explore something different. And now I've really been into like starting with guitar with all my songwriting. I usually start with some form of fun pitch shift, weird guitar effect. But yeah, I think, and even in my concert composing, same exact process. I improvise on the piano and then I transcribe it or think of it in the lens of the actual instrumentation I'm writing for. But that's usually my process every single time. And with composition or, the concert music, I definitely do make a lot of changes. Like that first improvisation is nothing like the actual final score. But typically with my songwriting, it's very similar to the first improvisation. I can always track a song back to the first thing that I improvised on my phone, like from years ago or whatever. And I'm like, oh, it's like the same thing. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I would say that's how both of those things relate for my process.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me because it's so different from the way that I personally work, and
Can you
I'm so
explain your process? I'm so interested. I'm sorry. I know I know you're supposed to be interviewing me, but I'd love to hear more about it.
No, yeah, let me think about this for a second because no one's ever asked me this on the podcast for sure. I approach it almost like with a sense of craftsmanship. Like I want everything in a piece to have some sort of like uniformity or
Mm,
like a thread that connects it all in some way. Like I think a lot about like an efficiency of means. But that being said, almost everything begins like me improvising on the piano in a lot of ways, whether that's a chord progression or like a little melody or something. And then I imagine the sorts of gestures and textures that I want in the piece. I will like draw very terrible kinds of
Yes.
blueprints for that, and then try to like smash it all together. And then the piece that I'm working on right now is a solo piano piece, and I've been working on it for 2 years, not consistently, like kind of really off and on. And I've spent so much time just like listening measure by measure and like making little tiny adjustments. And that's like kind of a new thing. Like I'm not in a hurry. I'm just like trying to get it exactly perfect, whatever that means to my intuition, right?
That's so cool.
So yeah, I've never been like the voice memo person, but I will, like, if I have a notebook, I'll like draw like a crappy drawing of what I want the music to sound like or something.
Yeah.
So,
That's so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so different. Like I feel like for me it was all about like, oh, like what sounds am I hearing, and like it's mostly I'm a very harmonically driven person, and I
Sure,
also
yeah.
love like slow moving harmony things. So like if I can stay on the same chord for an entire piece, I will. Like I love that kind of stuff. But it's so different. Like I don't usually think of anything visually, and I think I love like hearing other artists and how they create things, because for me I wouldn't like go to write it down, but like I've tried to do like a graphic score or like a sort of kind of diagram, and it works sometimes, but usually I look at it and I'm like, "Oh, this looks is totally like nothing like what I actually made." So I feel like I can't connect it visually like what I hear visually, which I think that's the going back to the score, the sort of like wanting to have a visual score that represents like what I hear in my brain. That was very hard for me, like growing up and learning that. So yeah, I found that really really awesome.
No, it takes a lot of practice, like anything else, right? I have to say though, hearing the way your different, I guess, musical projects kind of inform each other, hearing what you have to say about that, I have to point out that when I first listened to your album, All Things Endless, which for those who want to listen to it, it's the artist name is Feels Like Honey, but that's you. So,
Yes, thank
so
you.
you'll want to look for Feels Like Honey, All Things Endless. When I first listened to your album, the first track I'm listening to it, and I'm like, this could be like on an electroacoustic concert. I'm like, I was like,
Yeah.
I kind of went in with no expectations. And I was like, oh, is this what the album's going to be? And then the second track plays, and it's like more in that kind of pop rock
Mhm.
vein. And I'm like, this is awesome. And so like the flow that you're talking about through your the way you incorporate everything into different things, different types of music, I like picked up on that right away. So it's really awesome to hear you like describe it yourself. And
I'm so glad. Oh my gosh, that makes me very happy.
yeah, so I'll have a link to your website and where people can listen to your stuff in the show
Thanks.
notes, as with everyone else. So thank you so much for tuning in to Micromaker by Loose Leaf Transmissions. We hope you enjoyed this brief glimpse into the inner workings of the creative life. If this resonated with you, be sure to check out the full conversation on Music Maker with Tyler Kline, a podcast exploring craft and process, philosophy and inspiration, and the honest, often messy parts of being an artist, creative uncertainty, purpose and identity, and resilience. You can find Music Maker wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting musicmakerpodcast.com.